Yes, members of the public. It's sometimes difficult to have a say after our able chairs have made their statements, but I'm here to make a statement, one as counsel who represented the family of Brian, as well as the independent medical legal unit, that is IMLU, in court in the petition that was before court. I would really want to agree with counsel who've gone before me that the pronouncement that was made by the court the other day indeed struck too deep into the pursuit for the rule of law in this country. For me, it was a sad day. It's still a sad moment to date that we are still grappling with the whereabouts of Brian Odhiambo. I wish to confirm that the struggle for the rights of that family, the struggle for the rights of Brian Odhiambo is still on. I wish to also confirm that until we know where Brian is, we are not stopping anytime soon. I also wish to confirm that indeed there are meetings that are taking place. We are still working on. I recall I did promise the other day that as soon as the court papers are ready, we would be filing them. And we want to thank you, members of the press, and indeed the Law Society of Kenya, for the pressure that you're putting in this matter. We want to really appreciate, I think on behalf of the family of Brian, we want to appreciate all actors who have been on this course, members of the Fourth Estate, the Law Society of Kenya, for the support, immense as it is, that you've given to the family and indeed to the entire cause for the rule of law in this country. May I also say this, that Brian is not just a statistic. We have indeed received reports of quite a number of missing persons. And this should actually then disturb the mind of even a judge. And Lake Nakuru National Park in itself, I would wish to invite the general public to note, and I'm saying this with a heavy heart, that place is a crime scene. Lake Nakuru National Park is a crime scene. Brian is just one. We have very many reports of other missing persons. I can confirm I have 2-3 more reports of missing persons around in Lake Nakuru. We'd wish to ask our officers, the KWS officers at Lake Nakuru, and even their colleagues out here. Number one, we are now worried about Brian, and his family is crying out. Tomorrow it could be your kin, it could actually be yourself. I do not know whether those officers would want us to speak for them when their day comes. If we are not so keen on how we handle fellow human beings, then I do not know who will speak for them when we are all gone later on. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate the efforts you're putting in this course, and I wish to sincerely thank you. And when we have an update to give on this course, we'll surely do. Thank you so much. Let me say this. Number one, I was actually shocked to note that the judge made a mention in the ruling about an identification parade. You'd recall, those ones of us who are in court, that we had made an application to cross-examine the makers of those affidavits. It, in the words of the judge, boggles the mind of any rational human being that the judge did not consider it necessary to even take the testimony of those who made affidavits, including affidavits touching on the question of identification. But I would also need to note that we had elaborate responses in the affidavits that were filed in court on that particular question. But again, as it is, you note the ruling is very short, about 2 pages or 3, touches nothing on that. And we would wonder whether the judge didn't see it as necessary to even speak to that. But allow me to say this. Those who will take up the criminal matter, when they are finally instructed, would want to take up an issue with that parade. I may not want to divulge much, but allow me to say this. Number one, a parade was done in the dark. an identification parade was allegedly done, but it was done in the dark. Actually, it was around 5:36 p.m. It went into the night. One would wonder how one would see or identify anyone. Number two, we do not even know who was actually brought to the parade. KWS has so many officers countrywide. Okay? One would not tell who were the officers that were actually brought for purposes of that parade. Although we know they are the custodians of documents, and having said this, they may manufacture something to cover the whole thing. But our view is the entire process was a sham. It was a sham. Thank you. DCI, who are an independent body, have not considered it necessary to still reach out and find out more if there is need. They are perhaps investigating in their offices. Insofar as our clients are concerned and ourselves, the investigations are ongoing in their offices. But out here, the family is still wondering, where are these guys? So even when the judge says let the prosecution process continue, for a fact no one is being prosecuted anywhere. Insofar as we know, from the information I have, no one has taken plea anywhere. Okay? And no decision to charge anyone has been made. And so for whatever prosecution process the judge had in mind, perhaps you place it before the judge. He would tell you what he had in mind. He would tell you which prosecution process he had in mind when he says, and that is the instructive paragraph in that ruling, I'll say nothing, let prosecution process take its course. He has a thing or two to tell us about the process. Maybe you place that before the judge.
Good afternoon, members of the press. Good afternoon, members of the public. And good afternoon to my colleagues. My name is Wangari Mwangi. I serve as the Law Society of Kenya chairperson, Nakuru. And we thought it wise to call this presser to address on the issue of Brian Odhiambo, who has not been found until now. We are also privy to the ruling that was issued by the High Court judge. And our question is, as the Law Society of Kenya, if we cannot get solutions to our problems before the court, then where do we go from here? And we know that Brian not being found at this moment is causing a lot of agony. We can only empathize with the family on how they feel about this situation. We wish to recognize that we stand in solidarity with the family of Brian. We stand in solidarity with his friends, his wife, and we wish to condemn in the strongest manner possible that if at all Brian has been abducted, abductions do not have a place in our current society. And we wish to implore that Brian is produced, whether he is alive or dead. And we also wish to recognize that as the Law Society of Kenya, we wish to uphold the rule of law. We recognize that our constitution protects the rights of citizens. And if we cannot have that protect us, then the only question is, where are we safe? To whom do we run to? On that note, I wish to welcome a former chair, Mr. Mungeri. He's here on behalf of all former chairs who have served Nakuru Law Society. I know he has a few things to say.
Chair, before you give it to the former chair, what are some of the issues that were raised in the judgment that you find had a problem with?
On that, allow me to correct you. Not that I had a problem with, I just recognize that they are not in tandem with the petition that was filed. Anyone who was following that petition knows that we, members of the public and the family of Brian, instructed advocates and IMLU to have Brian produced. That is the habeas corpus application, whether he's alive or dead. And even at the cross-examination of the KWS and the DCI, we recognized that that was not captured in the ruling. The KWS recognized that they were with Brian, but that has not been addressed. So that is one of the issues that brings us together as a society, that we are fighting for Brian. Wherever he is, his family needs to know that we stand with them.
Are you planning to take a legal action, let's say maybe appeal or something?
I am aware that there are several meetings to be held. Allow me not to say where the meetings or who is holding the meetings, but the outcome of those meetings will allow us to know whether we are going to follow that case up as the Law Society of Kenya, as the petitioners. I also know that our colleagues who have been acting for Brian since the onset of that petition are here with us. They are going to tell us what the position of the family is, because we have to respect their wishes in as much as we wish to take it up.